For centuries, the concert hall was a space of strict, quiet contemplation. Audiences sat still, politely absorbing the sound, much like this little dog patiently listening to the horn. In this environment, the composer held absolute authority. They were the brilliant architects of the music and the undisputed creative heroes whose names drew the crowds. The person actually playing the instrument, meanwhile, was treated as a neutral vessel. Their only job was to dutifully translate the composer's written notes into sound, without getting in the way. These magnificent theaters offered sterile grandeur, devoid of human drama. People bought tickets to hear music, not to witness an event. Then came Niccolo Paganini. He arrived at performances in a black carriage drawn by black horses, stepping onto the stage with a gaunt, skeletal frame that immediately commanded the room's attention. Because of his astonishing skill, whispers began to spread among the public. The dominant gossip claimed he had quite literally traded his soul to the devil in exchange for his supernatural technique. Rather than correct the record and clear his name, Paganini recognized the value of the rumors. He intentionally leaned into this devil's violinist aesthetic, cultivating the mystery to his advantage. He demanded strict control over his environment, insisting on playing only in dimly lit halls. The heavy shadows masked his exact movements and heightened the eerie atmosphere. Within that deckness, audiences watched his elongated fingers execute impossible feats. He played lightning-fast pizzicato and complex multi-stop harmonics that seemed to defy physical limits. This calculated masterclass in theatrical technique proved highly effective. Paganini demonstrated that obscurity and the suggestion of the occult were incredibly powerful tools for holding an audience's attention. Seeing Paganini's success, Franz Liszt decided to apply a similar ambition to the piano, but he utilized a completely opposite strategy. He traded the shadows for blinding, radiant visibility. If Paganini was the shadow, Liszt intended to be the sun. He recognized that intense exposure could captivate a crowd just as effectively as deep obscurity. Before Liszt, pianists typically sat with their backs to the crowd, or facing them directly, hiding their hands and burying their faces in the sheet music. Liszt physically rotated the grand piano 90 degrees. By offering his profile to the audience, he made both the instrument and his own physicality the focal point of the stage. With the crowd watching his every move, he tossed his flowing hair and projected intense emotional expressions, ensuring his reactions were as visible as his technique. He played with such raw physical force that he frequently snapped the piano strings mid-performance, a visceral display of power that electrified the room. By exposing his absolute emotional connection to the music, Liszt turned the recital into an intimate ritual. Women fought over his discarded cigar butts and shredded his velvet gloves for souvenirs, establishing the frenzy known as Lisztomania and inventing the modern fan. The concert hall was no longer a quiet tribute to the composer's written notes. The person playing the instrument had successfully eclipsed the creator as the definitive cultural icon. Every rock star who smashes a guitar and every pop idol who curates a distinct visual era is borrowing directly from the theatrical playbooks written by Paganini and Liszt. They proved that mastering an instrument is only half the job. True virtuosity demands curating a full persona, where the visual spectacle you create holds exactly the same weight as the music you play. By merging the untouchable, mysterious aura of the shadow with the intensely intimate exposure of the sun, these two performers wrote the exact blueprint for modern celebrity. This was brought to you by Notes and Silences. Thank you for listening.